Hello, everybody. Welcome to week number 5, the things that might be hurting your rankings. Very excited to have you here. So this is going to be fun because this is all the things that you shouldn't be doing, or maybe you're doing, maybe you're not. Hopefully you're not. But people have tried and failed in the past to do some of these things. And we're going to kind of go through those with you today. So we're going to talk a little bit about the dynamic nature of SEO. What do you have to do to kind of keep above what everybody else is doing? Critical areas that could be hurting you from your ranking side. And then I want to talk to you about what is the new SEO formula. As we're kind of getting to the end of our series, we definitely want to know, okay, what and how should we be doing it? So we'll be talking about those things. And a lot of it's stuff we've already covered, as you know. My name is 𝗠𝗟𝗧𝗘𝗥. If you're joining us for the first time, this is class number 5 of 6. So you might want to go back and look at the others. My company is called Window Treatment Marketing Pros. We've been doing this for 27 years now. We've been doing it for quite a while. So excited to have everybody here and excited to have you watching if you're watching the recording as well. So as usual, for the people that are live, don't forget about the chat. Don't forget about asking questions. Get in there and post those questions as I'm going through this. I tend to talk kind of quickly. So if there's something that you want to cover, definitely put that into the chat and make sure that I'm answering all of your questions as we go. I want to make sure everybody's getting everything and understanding everything as we get through it. Now, as you know, we have something called our digital dominance method, 12 different things that you should be doing for your business online. And we've broken that down into things. Today, we're going to be talking specifically about numbers 1 and 4, which is pretty much where we've hovered the entire 6-week series. If you don't have the worksheet yet, make sure to grab that because that is the latest and greatest worksheet. And we're going to be adding some things to that as well as we complete this training. So questions from last week. Last week, we talked all about tracking, Google Analytics, Google Search Console, some of the tools you can use, Bright Local, things like that. We talked about the local search grid with the little dots in a square and how you're ranking maybe close to where you're at, but then as you get further out, you're not ranking as well. And then, of course, we talked about some of the newer ranking factors related to that. Anybody have any questions, anything that they worked on over the last week that they wanted me to be a little bit more specific about? If you have those, put those in the chat. I'm going to check all the different chats here, make sure I don't see anything. If you guys have any questions, put them in there. I'll make sure to grab those. Today, we're going to be talking all about the things that could be hurting your rankings. So one of the things I did mention last week was something called Google EAT, E-A-T, and they've actually updated that now. It's called EEAT. EEAT, which stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. These are the things that Google has decided as part of their recipe of if they consider your site to be one that they want to rank, right? This is part of the overall recipe, I guess you could call it, to a very well-rounded website. Leah is in the chat asking if we could share the link to the workbook. Liz, could you share that, please? I would appreciate it. So EEAT, you can look this up, and there's a little bit of information about that here. But basically, these are the 4 things they're looking at on every website. And if the website qualifies for these things, and actually if even just the page on your site qualifies, and is in order with these things, that page would rank. If it's not, they might not index that particular page. So we're going to talk about some of these things today, specifically some of the critical things that could be hurting your rankings. So number 1 is something we haven't spoken a whole lot about, and that's search intent. So we go to the web for different reasons. There's different intents that we have when we're going to look something up. So you need to be able to have a website that kind of considers all of those different people. And if we go back to session 1, I think was on avatars and understanding your audience and things like that. This is all part of that particular thing. So when it comes to search intent, there's really 4 different ways people use the internet. First of all, informational intent. They're just looking to get some answers for something. They're doing research, you could call it, on a specific topic. They're trying to learn more about something. Number 2 is navigational intent. So they're trying to get to a specific place, specific website. They already know their destination. They're just trying to figure out how to get to that destination. Number 3 is all around transactions and purchases. So I'm looking to buy a product, or I'm looking to sign up for a service, something like that. So they're looking specifically to purchase something. And this is where a lot of us would start to live in this world, right? If somebody's typing in window treatments near me, ultimately that is probably a transactional based intent search. It could be informational. They could just be doing some research, or it could be that they're looking for a place to come help them, meaning that they're a good lead for us, right? So that's one. And then the fourth one is commercial investigation. So they're looking for research on something they're thinking about buying. So this is almost a mix of numbers 1 and 3, the transactional piece and the informational piece. They're looking to just do a little bit more fact gathering before they make a decision. So these are the 4 big pieces that you have to have, or you have to consider when you're building a website, right? There's not only just one kind of person that comes to your site. There might be people that are just looking to see what's available, cornices or Roman shades or whatever it is, right? They're just kind of in that fact finding mode versus somebody who is ready to get started. So we need to build a website that matches both of those and their particular search intent. So the way we do that obviously starts with keyword research. We talked about that very, very early on too, some different tools that you can use to make sure that when what people are typing in, and that you have the answers to those particular things. Next, creating content that answers those questions. So the whole idea here, and if we look back at the EEAT, one of the big things that Google is looking at is, did the website the searcher that the searcher went to, did that end up resolving the problem? Did it answer the question? And obviously they don't know your brain, but they can see how long you spent on that site, if you hit the back button, things of that sort. So creating content that answers the questions people are typing in is probably going to help you in the long run. The other tool that we looked at was Answer the Public. So Answer the Public is a fantastic tool when it comes to what kind of questions are people asking about X topic, window treatments. What are they typing in? And that answerthepublic.com tool can really help you understand what people are typing in, what comparisons they're doing, what kind of reviews they're looking for, all those kinds of things. So creating that content that matches. Sorry, one other thing about creating content, you can always type something into Google or Yahoo, and then at the bottom it says people also searched for. Those are great ways to see other ways that people might be looking for similar topics to what you think people are looking for. Next, structuring content in an easy to navigate manner. So when we talked about our on-page SEO, this was a big piece of that, right? Having the right titles, having the right headings, and breaking your page into subheadings. Obviously, having some pictures, things like that. All of these things that make it easy to navigate through your site, and obviously answers whatever question they're looking for. And then number 4, providing a positive user experience. So at the end of the day, did your site look nice? Did they feel good with the outcome? All the way down to the communication. If they set up a lead, or sorry, if they set up an appointment, did they get a confirmation back? Did they get a "we're excited to help you" email or something like that? That whole positive experience is a big part of it along with it. So Google is really focusing on search intent and making sure that their job of answering the question, meaning getting the right organic listings in front of that searcher, they want to do that the best they can. One of the things that they recently did was that helpful content update. So content that's not helpful, they're just not even going to index it anymore. They're not going to offer that as one of the answers. So this is where creating really good content that answers questions, especially from different search intents along the way, helps you, and obviously helps them deliver your website more often. So definitely keep that in mind when you're kind of going through how you build content, and that it's not just for one type of searcher. All right, questions? I don't see anything yet. To help with creating helpful content, Google has a couple guidelines, couple ideas of things. I'm not going to read through these. You can see them, but they really want you to make sure that you're not spamming them. You're answering questions. You're providing good value. And again, if people are spending time on your site, that probably means that it's a good thing. So Eric said, Will, do you recommend AI to create content? So the easy answer is no. Do not directly go to ChatGPT and say, write me a page, write me 600 words of content about Roman shades, right? And then post it on your site. You probably would get hit pretty drastically by some of the updates that Google's doing. So do not do that. What they're really after, again, is the quality of the content. And AI is pretty good, but it's AI, and somebody else could go do the same thing. So they do know how to detect the AI. And we do use AI with some content generation, but the way that we do it, and what I think is the correct way to do it, is use kind of the Pareto principle, 80-20 rule, right? Use a tool that will help you get the process started, but then make sure that it's human edited, that somebody's getting in there, updating it, changing it, keeping that content real. Let's see. AI can be used as a great tool to help you create content. Will can probably create a whole different seminar just for that. Yeah, we could definitely do one specifically just on AI. Short answer, don't go to ChatGPT and get some content, copy and paste that onto your website. You'll definitely see some penalties by doing so. The human edited piece is really the most important piece. Obviously, you can just pay a writer to create content. And that's the whole reason AI is in our world, is that we can kind of shortcut that process and not do that. So hopefully that helps you answer the question there, Eric. So again, make sure that you're kind of focusing on all four of these things when it comes to creating content, when it comes to creating your overall experience of the website. And we'll talk a little bit more about design and some other things like that today as well. All right. So what are some things that we can neglect? Well, one is mobile usability. So right now, we're seeing on average somewhere between 60 and 70% of a client of ours, a window treatment company, 60 to 70% of the people that visit that page are on mobile devices. So you can't ignore Google. And when you're taking a website that's fairly big and squishing it down to a little screen like this, or even worse, this way, right? There's not a lot of room there. So it has to still be friendly. You have to be able to get through it and understand with ease. You don't have to zoom in just to read it, those kinds of things. Very important. Now, Google does have a mobile friendliness tool called Page Speed Insights. This will give you your page loading speed. It'll also give you some other information related to both mobile and desktop on how your website is performing. You can see at the top here in this example, they've got a mobile tab and a desktop tab, and they actually give you grades on each of these things. These are the things you did right. These are the things that are wrong. And this is very important because Google has, really, they have two Googles right now. There's the mobile one and the desktop one. If you have a website up, you're probably on the desktop version. But if your website is not mobile friendly, it's very possible that you won't show up on that version. And if 70% of the people are using mobile to find you, they won't find you because you're not in there. So it's very important to use a tool like this. I'll go back. This is called Page Speed Insights. It's a free tool from Google. You can just type that into Google. It'll take you right there. You plug your URL in. It'll give you a score. And then obviously your job is to fix it so that you can get a better grade, right? So that's mobile friendliness and some speed factors related to that as well. All right, number two, I kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, poor content quality. So thin content, meaning, like a paragraph or two, is not enough for Google there's not enough meat on the bone for Google to decide if this content is good enough to rank. It's just not enough. Duplicate content means you just copied it from another website. That would not work. Or irrelevant content. So what used to be the big thing was everybody had the local weather on their website. That's fairly irrelevant to the overall scheme of things. So things like that, news feeds, sometimes those are not relevant to what you're trying to do, and they're probably distractions anyway. But making sure that you have good quality content on there. And obviously it says here, content that fails to provide value or engage the audience. Engage is kind of a big word. Facebook a year or so ago came out and said, we want more engagements. You know, that's a big thing of what they're after, people that are engaging with your content. So to make sure that your website is optimized for mobile first indexing, let's talk about a couple of those. Let's jump over to a question here. Will, what is the best tool to use keeping good resolution on images without them slowing down the page drawing? So we use TinyPNG, TinyPNG. I think it's just tinypng.com. That lets us optimize images for sites. Also, WordPress does some of this automatically. They'll show smaller versions of pictures on smaller screens. We use TinyPNG to kind of help that process along. That's a good tool. I'm sure there's others. That's just the one that we use for it. That basically what it does is it downloads your image, changes the resolution without losing a lot of the quality, and then puts it back on your site at a lower resolution that still looks good and loads faster. Good question. All right, so responsive design. I mentioned this a minute ago. It responds when you change your screen size or shape. Your website automatically responds to that. You can see in this picture, this is on the desktop, it looks really nice. And then when you go to a mobile device, it squeezes all that down into something that still is easy to read, manageable, that kind of stuff. I don't know why I went backwards. That was weird. That's responsive design. The other side of that is fast loading times, as Marco just asked. We need to make sure that even on mobile device that these pages are loading quickly. We don't want to bog a page down with 20 or 30 pictures from your gallery that are, 10 megabytes each or some big number, and it just takes forever for the page to load, right? So optimizing your pictures so that they load quicker, those kinds of things are very important. And all of that can be monitored through the PageSpeed Insights tool. You can see where your site is in comparison. Touch-friendly navigation, as you know, people on iPads, phones, all of that is touch-friendly. So this talks a little bit about if you have a button, make sure the button does something and it's not just something people are tapping on and nothing happens. The same with links. This doesn't happen so much anymore, but people used to put words in blue with underline and it wasn't a link. So that would frustrate people, obviously. But Google watches these kinds of things to make sure that what you're showing to a user is something that they would understand how to use. It's easy to use as well. Very important piece of it. Next, accessible content. So this is mostly related to people with some disabilities that need to be able to still access your content. And we've seen some pretty big lawsuits of websites that are not accessible to the full extent. So making sure that all of your pictures have descriptions of what those pictures are. For instance, blind people, they can't see the page. So their particular computer actually reads the page to them. So making sure that everything is in there so that it's descriptive for them. Also, the ability to crank fonts up and crank fonts down, fonts that are friendly for those kinds of actions. There's a list of those. So you don't want to use some crazy handwriting script font that doesn't have that ability to zoom in, zoom out, those kinds of things. So there are some accessible things that need to happen. And there are some plugins for WordPress that you can use. We don't use them personally. We've kind of seen that people that put the plugins on the site tend to get like a little icon in the bottom left or right that says this page is accessible due to this plugin. We've seen some people that some nefarious people who are actually targeting sites that have those kinds of icons because that means the owner is aware of the fact that their site might not be accessible, fully accessible. And they're picking those sites out and suing them, which is just insane. But it's very important to make sure that your site is accessible for handicapped people as well. And there's plenty of reading online about this, having the right font size, making sure that you can increase and lower the fonts. All of these kinds of things are very important to it. I'm sure there's quite a list. I'm unaware of what they are, but there is a list. We also put a link in the footer of every client's site to an accessibility page that basically says, we've done everything we can to try to make our page accessible. If you find something wrong, please fill out this form and let us know. That goes a long way towards, if somebody were sued about it, that is already there. And we haven't had any clients sued over this at all. But that would go a long way with a judge saying, well, they gave you the ability to get this fixed. It's not like they're just blatantly trying to make the page unaccessible for you. All right. Mobile specific features. So just things that are specifically for mobile devices. If you do have those, just make sure that they that they function correctly and that they do what the user expects them to do. Those kinds of things. We tend to shy away from anything that's too fancy. Again, we're after the lead. We're not out to impress and do all these crazy things. We just want the lead, quite honestly. And I'm sure that's probably what you guys want too. So when it comes to page experience, definitely a big piece of this. So back to the whole thing about this person came to your website and they had a positive experience with your website overall. So these are things around loading performance, speed of the site. Is it secure? So do you have HTTPS on your site? So you have a security certificate, things like that. All of these things are things that Google is looking at and judging your site due to these kinds of things. So very important. That's why I'm bringing them up this week, because they're all going to help you in the overall scheme of ranking higher. All right, user experience. Don't forget about this. From the standpoint of how somebody visits your website, what do they think? Is the navigation too complicated? Are there ads popping up? Remember the days when we used to have ads popping up all the time? Those are pretty much gone now. But Google's watching for that kind of stuff. Content that doesn't matter. Those types of things are detractors to your overall rankings. An example could be Craigslist. We love Craigslist for what it does, and it does do a great job of functioning and getting us to whatever we're looking for, but it's not the prettiest thing in the world, and that's okay. Here's a site that I found. What was this? Pacific Northwest X-Ray Inc. This site, I don't know if it was built in 97 when I got started, maybe, but it's not great. It's not mobile friendly. It doesn't have a good user experience to it. It may have 20 years ago, but not so much nowadays. So all of these things come into play. Now, on the other side of design, you don't want a super beautiful site that doesn't function. In other words, somebody comes to your site and they're like, wow, this site is just beautiful. Look at all these great window treatment pictures. And then you forget to put a button on there for scheduling an appointment, right? It doesn't have those call to actions, things of that sort. So it's not always just about poor design. It could be about over designed to the point where it's not also built for conversion. So back to ultimate goal is generating leads. You need to have a really nice looking site that also functions correctly. We talked about poor quality content. I'm not going to hammer on this. Content, it can't be short. It can't be sweet. It can't be all AI. It needs to be good quality content that considers all of the different ways that people are using intent to find some information, whatever it is they're searching for. Now, we also talked in weeks 2 and 3 about SEO from a technical standpoint. So things that you can actually change on your site to really start to improve your rankings. So it definitely makes sense to make sure that you're doing those things, right? So don't neglect that kind of stuff. This screenshot is a screenshot from a tool called Ahrefs, ahrefs.com. And this is a tool that we use pretty often to get judge websites. What is the overall score of the site of all the things Google's looking at? How does this website score out of 100? So in this case, it was a 69 out of 100. So definitely some things that could be fixed from the technical side, and things that we can update, things that we can fix, broken links, title tags that are too long, H1s that are missing, all of those kinds of things. It's great to have these different tools that can help you start to focus on what needs to be fixed. All right, let me see if there's any questions and get a drink here. No questions yet. All right. So key areas of technical SEO that should not be overlooked. Obviously, structure, navigation. Is it easy to find the information on your site? HTTPS, we talked about that. Security, making sure you have a certificate on your site. Mobile friendliness, how fast the page loads, those kinds of things. XML sitemaps is basically most of the platforms do this automatically now, but there is a file that these platforms create called sitemap.xml. And basically it's just a one page, kind of like a table of contents of your website. And Google will come to your site and they'll download that first. Then they know where every single link is on every page of your site. They don't have to go find all these things. You've provided that to them ahead of time. Like I said, most website platforms do this for you nowadays, which is nice. Back in the day, we'd have to create these and then upload them. And then every time there was a new page, we had to edit it, re-upload it. That wasn't fun. All right, backlink quality over quantity. So we have talked about getting links from other sites, right? We talked a lot about that around citations, those kinds of things. There is a difference between the quality of who's linking to you as well. So to get a link from Hunter Douglas or Graeber or somebody, that link has more value than a link from Shutters or Us or something like that. In the overall scheme of how much weight the other website carries when it comes to SEO and things like that, that does matter. So you want better quality links coming to you versus just trying to go out and get the most links. That used to not be the case. We used to have programs that would go out and generate thousands of links very quickly, and Google got onto that one. So backlink quality over quantity is definitely a big piece of this. Some quality site examples, obviously Houzz, Better Business Bureau, Angie's List, America's Best Window Treatments. That's our website that we've launched. But getting links from these types of websites are relevant, and they're high authority sites. So the more of those that you have, the better off you are. While I'm here, if you don't have a free listing on America's Best Window Treatments, go get that, americasbestwindowtreatments.com. Get your business listed there absolutely free. So there's an easy link for you. All right, next, structured data or schema markup. So without getting too nerdy, this is a little bit on the nerdy side. Google, Bing, Yahoo, all the big players kind of came together, and it's been several years ago now, came together and said, what if we created a way for every website to explain who they are, where they're at, what they're selling, what their hours are, all of these different things, right? So they came up with a schema or a way for all websites to get that information to them easily. It's always the same. They're always looking for the same kinds of things, and you just fill in your details and it gets it to the search engines. So here would be an example of a schema for a local business, right? You would have, what is the type? The type is it's a local business. What is the website? What is the name of the company? What is their address? What are their hours? All of this stuff can be loaded into the back end of your site. If you remember me talking about something called Google Tag Manager, this would be something you would add to Google Tag Manager that always loads on your website so that Google knows all the information they need to know about your business. And you can get a little bit more specific here, that they've got quite a database of things that you can let them know about. more than I could share today. But this is kind of an overview of what it looks like. And all of this is behind the scenes. Visitors don't see this information, but the search engines do. So you might as well be as helpful as you can for them so that they can better rank you, especially when it comes to local, right? We're a local business in this particular area. Here's our address, here's our hours, that kind of stuff. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, non-compliance with web accessibility standards, which is easy to say. It's not that big of a deal. There are tools out there that will let you audit your accessibility, and it will give you a grade. You're 80, in this case, 85% accessible online. And that's acceptable. For most small businesses, if you can get over 80, even towards 90, that's great. You're never going to probably get to 100 because in the world of the web and accessibility, they're always changing things and they're always updating. Well, okay, we need to add this in for these kinds of people. So, you just want to make a very good concerted effort towards accessibility, understanding you might not hit the 100% goal, but the easy things that, like it says here, no critical issues were found. Make sure all of those obviously are fixed and working properly, and then revisit this. I'd say maybe once every 6 months, maybe once every 12 months, and make sure that your site is still accessible. Update anything that you might need to do at that time. On-site optimization. This was a big thing that we talked about earlier on, making sure that your site is optimized the best that you can, having the correct navigation, making sure it's easy to get around. Watch out for improper use of keywords. So a couple things here. We used to have something called keyword density, where you need to put your keyword at least this many times in the copy, and you need to bold it sometimes, and you need to italicize it sometimes, and try to make it look different because Google will pay more attention to that. Most of that is not really taken into factors anymore. Here's an example of just plain overdoing it. And I've seen these kinds of things where people are just, they're taking something and plugging it in. This is the other side of AI, right? Oh, give me some content and then replace all these words with this word. This is not going to do you well and would not be a good thing to put on. I don't think anybody would do that, but something like this maybe have been a tactic 10, 12 years ago, not so much anymore. The other thing here that I didn't put into this presentation, but is worth mentioning, is Google has something called their knowledge graph. And basically, Google understands relationships between words. So if you were writing, if you had a website about spaghetti, right? spaghettilovers.com or something, right? Google would expect that when you're talking about spaghetti, you're going to use words like fork and maybe Parmesan and meatball and sauce, right? They understand how those words work together. Same is true in our industry, of course. So you can rank on Google for terms that maybe are not on your website, or maybe they're just mentioned one time on your page or something like that, because they understand how all of these other things work together. So there's no reason to do something like this, where you're trying to get the word in there so many times just to make sure that you rank for that particular phrase. So don't do that. Next, not optimizing for local search. So we did talk about this a little bit. This is where, especially around building your H1 tags and your title tags for your homepage, or for some of these main pages where you want to rank, you want to make sure that your homepage H1 tag is your number one keyword that you want to rank for. And in most cases, that is window treatments location, or in Eric's case, retractable awnings location, right? Those words would be the main focus of your homepage. Then if you build a page on your site specifically about window treatments in a smaller municipality or something like that, make sure that those pages are optimized for that particular set of keywords. So optimize for location. Don't forget about the schema that is part of this. So putting these things in that says, hey, Google, we're a local company and we want to rank in this area, right? That's the best thing that you can do around this kind of stuff. And again, there are tools that you can look at to see how are we doing in this. We do have a free report that I can give to any of you. If you want to know kind of how are we doing on the local side, just reach out to me and I'd be happy to run some sort of report like this that says, okay, we're going to look at all these different factors, including your Google business profile, your website, things of that sort, and see where you can improve on the local end. So that is definitely a big piece of this. Focusing on all of these different things will help you from getting kicked out of Google or just wondering, why am I not ranking as high as I should be? I've done all these things. Make sure some of these other things that I mentioned today are things that you are paying attention to and not doing if you're not supposed to be doing, or doing correctly if you should, obviously. So, all right, let me jump over and look for questions. I have a quiet group today. Let's see here. Leah says, are search terms window treatments near me and window treatments location the same? So yes, for the most part, when you're doing a near me search, you're probably doing that on a mobile device. The mobile device tells Google where you're at all times, right? They're always watching. So they understand what the near me means, and they'll provide results that are related to the places around you, meaning city names, things of that sort. So from a technical standpoint, they're different keywords, but same result is you're trying to find something locally. Now, near me might skew your results a little bit more towards you versus like on a desktop, somebody might type in window treatment St. Louis. You know, even though I'm 20 miles south of St. Louis, I would probably still do a search for plumber St. Louis or roofer St. Louis, right? Just because that's the area I'm in, and it may give me some results closer to the center of the city. So near me would probably give me closer results to where I'm at. So there are some very small differences with what you get in the term of results. Good question. Near me also comes into play with Siri and Google Home and Alexa, those kinds of devices as well. People are using those to search, those home assistants type devices as well. So I must have said her name quiet enough that she didn't catch me. So I don't hear her talking. That's good. So, all right. So the new SEO formula, what are the things that we need to be planning on doing here? Keyword research. Obviously, I've hammered this into you guys. This is the main crux of everything you do, understanding what keywords are going to get you the most eyeballs and the highest quality leads. There's a lot of different tools out there. Google has one called Google Keyword Planner. Ahrefs is the one I've mentioned before. SEMrush is a comparable platform to Ahrefs. They're almost the same as far as their functionality. There's also one called 𝗠𝗔𝗦𝗧𝗘𝗥, which you can use as well. And then we do have a free swipe file, wtmarketingpros.com/keywords will give you the top keywords in our industry. So yeah, we just made that a lot easier for you. All right, number 2, set up a great website with unique pages targeting those keywords. So one thing that I see a lot is somebody will have a products page and they'll just list all their products, or they'll have a shades page and they'll list 4 or 5 different types of shades on that page. In reality, each of those shades or each of those products should have their own page on your website. The idea here is if somebody goes to Google and types in Roman shades St. Louis, the best usability experience, the best experience that person could have was that they click on a result that takes them to a page specifically about a company that makes Roman shades in St. Louis. If that's your site, that would be fantastic. So what happens over time is your homepage actually it moves down in the list of most frequented pages or most landed on pages. And that's great. You want to deliver the page that matches whatever that person was searching, not necessarily your homepage. And in a lot of cases, your homepage would be a bad place for them to land because now they have to go find your Roman shades page, right? So we really want to have individual pages for each different product or service that we offer, and then optimize those pages so if somebody types in that kind of a thing, that they land specifically on that page. They don't have to spend any time going to find it. Hopefully that makes sense for you guys. So unique pages for each service, each city. We also do this. We build a lot of city pages for our clients. So think of these smaller municipalities around, especially maybe the more affluent ones, where getting a job there could be a whole home or it could be a bigger job. All right, continuing on, optimize your site for user experience. Optimize it with the on-page and off-page SEO that we've talked about in the past. Track your results. Make sure you have all of your tracking set up. These are all things that we've talked about over the last 5 weeks. So having all of those things working together is going to result in more leads for you guys. Now, I do have a training session specifically on this called the new SEO formula. So you can go check this out. It's on our YouTube page. It's also on, they just put the playlist link in the chat there if you want to go watch that. You can also find it at wtmarketingpros.com/training. But there are a lot of workshops out there that I've done in the past, and I have done one specifically on these kinds of things. All right, questions and hopefully answers. What kind of questions do you guys have today? My nose is itching like crazy. I don't know why. I think I've just been talking too much. So what questions do we have? Liz, do we have any questions on YouTube or Facebook, any of the streaming platforms? If you guys have questions, plug those in. Are there any of these things that we covered that you didn't know about, or that you are doing incorrectly? I'd love to know a little bit more about that if you're brave enough to tell us that you're doing that. All right. Leah says, you mentioned a coaching offer a couple of weeks ago. Can you share more details? Yes, quite honestly, I haven't built the page on our site yet, but I'll be sharing that this week. I'll share that through email, a link to come to our website. It's probably going to be go.wtmarketingpros.com/coaching. Liz, if you actually, I'll type it in the chat since I know what it is. wtmarketingpros.com. If I could type, that would help too. This page is not up yet, but if you want to grab that and put that in your list of pages that you want to check out here down the road. And again, I will send this out to everyone later on this week. Oh, she's got it there. There we go. Cool. Thank you, Liz. So that is something I'm working on. I just got to finish building it, quite honestly. Thank you for asking. All right. Other questions? I don't see anything else there. All right. If you have a question, please put that into the chat. I want to make sure we get you guys all set up. All right. We're getting some questions from YouTube as well. As you know, digital dominance method, we've focused really on 1 and 4 for the most part, and a little bit dabbled in number 2, which is the local SEO side of things too. So we do have those. Marco says, you have mentioned some tools to check your website. Do you have a complete list of which those are? Yes, that is in the resources. So I'll share that QR code here in a minute, and everything that I've mentioned will be in that resource document, along with any links, anything like that. We will get all of that into that resource document. I'll share that in 2 more slides for you. What is the easiest way to update your existing content for EEAT from YouTube? So a lot of times people will say, boy, I've got some content that's kind of okay. I should redo this. And they'll rewrite the entire thing and post it as a new post. I think we may have mentioned this a week or 2 ago as well. Definitely want to take the original content that you already have on your site and update that content. So just make it better. We call it 10xing the content. Just make it 10 times better than it is now. One trick is to update the publish date on it to the most recent date when you're hitting the publish button, and just republish that content on the same link, same page that it was on before. Google will see that that page has been updated and it's a lot better. That is the best way to do it. From a functionality standpoint, most website tools now have builders built in where updating the content is pretty easy. If you can use Word, you can probably update the content from a purely functional side. Pretty easy to do. Update the content, hit publish again, and it will automatically put the new content up there for you. I don't know why my computer's making all those noises, but it is. So sorry about that. One of the easiest ways to update existing content, assuming it is good, is to add quotes. So quotes meaning additional content. Yeah, that explains it a little bit more from a person of authority, data and statistics. Excellent. Thanks, That's great. So, all right, I'll watch for any other questions that might come in here. Next week is last one, number 6. I am flying to Dallas Wednesday morning for the IWCE. I will be doing this session live from Dallas. So excited to have that. This is your chance to bring any questions that you may have about anything that we've covered, anything maybe that we haven't covered that you've heard, at your local chamber and you wanted to ask. It's going to be a live Q&A. So bring all your questions, anything you can think of. And I want to make sure that we're covering and getting everything. We're also going to do a recap. I'll probably throw in a couple more additional tools that we haven't gone through already. And same time, same place next week as well. So 2 quick links for you, the Facebook group. Make sure to join that. Marco, I did see that you requested to join, but you requested as your company. We don't let companies join the Facebook group. So we need you to join as yourself from your own Facebook profile. If you would do that, I'll be happy to get you in there. And then the other link there is the SEO Masterclass resources. So everything I've talked about, all the links, all the tools, everything will be in there. Now that this is over, we will update that. So keep an eye on that because it does get updated as we go through each session as well. Marco said, oh, good. All right. That is it for week number 5. Excited to see you guys next week. We'll be live. I've got some pretty cool stuff put together for you. It's going to be a lot of fun and look forward to seeing you guys on the last one. Congrats for getting this far. Leah says, have fun in Dallas. I'll be sipping cocktails on the beach. Thank you for offering this valuable and helpful resource. Course. You're very welcome. Enjoy the beach. I'm about a month away from the same thing, but right now got to go to Dallas and shake some hands. So thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you next week and take care. Thanks, everybody. Bye.